If you follow creepy and weird games, it's not uncommon for one to hear of the indie title, The Story of Kamikuishiki Village. It's almost hard actually, as many have made comments about the obscurity of this game and the roots that lead to one of Japan's most feared cults. However, dig a bit further, and you may find yourself falling down a slightly deeper rabbit hole. One that leads to more games produced by this cult, along with a world of deranged philosophy and mind manipulation. If you are at all intrigued, proceed on. But I will warn that while any explicit content will be censored, this story leads through events of multiple cult attacks and topics that some viewers may find uncomfortable. So with that being said, let's begin. Travel back in time to 1980s Tokyo. Somewhere in a single-bedroom apartment lies a small but dedicated meditation class run by its founder, Shoko Asahara. Shoko was born in 1955 and fell victim to infantile glaucoma that left him fully blind in his left eye with only partial vision in his right. This led to an alleged young life of hardship and bullying from his peers, which undoubtedly had partial influence in his future. This meditation group began to grow and acquire new members until 1989, the year it officially became a religious organization. The group was dubbed the Shinri Party and went by the ideology Aum Shinrikyo, literally meaning supreme truth. The religion was based on the Aum Salvation Plan, which claimed in curing physical illnesses with health improvement techniques, realizing life goals by improving intelligence and positive thinking, and concentrating on what was important at the expense of leisure. He basically turned meditation into meditation and also listened to every word that I said. Since Aum now had official status, it drew attention from many young students seeking religion. One would argue that this is the perfect scenario for a cult, as these individuals tend to be the most vulnerable at such a young and curious age. Aum Shinrikyo was never not controversial. From the start, the group began to get a bad rap and was accused of soliciting members, holding them against their will, and by the late 80s, even a murder. Of course, these remained allegations, but in 1989, something interesting happened. People began to catch on to the group's true intentions, and anti-cult lawyer Chouetsu Sakamoto approached with a lawsuit that would inevitably bankrupt and destroy the organization. The cult tried to negotiate with Sakamoto, but he was set on exposing the group. Sakamoto took part in an interview with Japanese TV station TBS. Unfortunately, this interview would never air. Unknowing to Sakamoto, the cult had ties with TBS. Whatever was said must have been something that the cult was trying to hide. They pressured TBS into not airing the interview, and a week later, Sakamoto along with his wife and child went missing. The police were unable to resolve the case. Members of the cult snuck into the Sakamoto's house at around 3 a.m. They struck Sakamoto with a hammer and brutally beat his wife. While both struggled, they all, including the child, were injected with potassium chloride and inevitably died. Their bodies were then found in metal drums scattered over Japan. This story, as well as the bodies, would not be uncovered until over 6 years later. One of the things a religion did best was acquire attention. Hell, I'd argue that if Shoko wasn't such a jackass, he would ace the YouTube algorithm. The religion attempted to attract new members by targeting popular media cultures such as magazines, anime, and video games. When I say target, I mean directly target. The cult created its own studio labeled MAT for manga, animation, and team that produced a 10-episode anime titled Chouetsu Sekai. Excuse me if I pronounce this or anything in this video wrong, but I try my best. Allow me to play the intro to this anime raw and without narration. Just take note of the English subtitles.
人は誰でも持っているみんなの心に持っている遥かな虫の過去から持っている人に に誰でも隠れてるみんなの心に隠れてる無名の闇を越えて超越人力だ功徳によってサマディによって主従によって得る世界悟りによって下脱によって自由自在に君は使える天に多神宿命天元老人天に多神宿命天元老人無名の闇を越えて超越人力だ
The anime is centered around Shoko Asahara himself, and all 10 episodes are basically a connection to him and Christ. He is treated as a god with unworldly powers and should be praised by those around him. While I would imagine the king upon his throne must have felt a power trip from this anime, its sole purpose was to convert viewers into believers of the Aum Shinrikyo cult. Hence the telepathy recollection of one's own past lives and rebirths of others and the extinction of mental intoxicants. The cult wasn't very subtle or clever with their message, but nor were they ever. Besides for the controversial topics and accusations, Aum Shinrikyo wasn't much of a threat. At least not until 1994-95, the year the cult truly made a worldwide name for themselves. 1994 was a mass spree of small to medium attacks that quickly showed the cult's true colors. Most often using chemicals as weapons, more and more attacks on civilians traced back to Aum Shinrikyo. However, in March of 95, the cult had no way to cover up the most fatal attack yet. During a coordinated strike against 5 different trains in Japan, cult members released a binary chemical weapon that injured an estimate of between 1,000 to 6,000 civilians. Of these individuals, 13 were reported dead with over 50 defined as seriously injured. This event led police to take immediate action against the cult, and over the next week, dozens of cult compounds would be raided and detained, including the cult's headquarters close to the bottom of Mount Fuji. There, officials found prisoners, millions of US dollars, other weapons, and enough chemicals to kill over 4 million people. This train attack was only the beginning of their master plan. After this, the cult was gutted from the inside and exposed to the public. While other attacks from dedicated cult members persisted over the next few years, it was the beginning of the end for Aum Shinrikyo. During this time, overwhelming amounts of information began to leak and was the talk of news stations worldwide. This led to more coverage of some of Aum Shinrikyo's other projects. Aum Shinrikyo took a jab at the video game industry and had many features in a Japanese gaming magazine, Gaming Urara. Cult aside, this magazine featured many unusual and disturbing posts regarding hentai, privacy, hacking, and other controversial topics associated with games and accompanying technology. The magazine was short-lived, only lasting for about a year and releasing 5 volumes in the mid-90s. Since the cult was still fresh and very relevant in the news, articles covering some of Aum Shinrikyo's project was sure to make an appearance in the magazine. I found an archive with all issues of the magazine, but as expected, they aren't in English. While I did my best to piece together what each article said, translating words to an image is somewhat choppy, so excuse me if what you're about to see sounds a bit off. Volume 1 consisted of an article reviewing one of the cult's games. I'm sure there's an official title, but through translation, nothing I could find that I'm certain of leads me to this conclusion. However, we do get some screenshots of the game with a short description of what players can do. The magazine describes the game with the following. 7 to 8 people are worshipping in a standing position at the bottom of the screen, and the guru is warmly watching over the golden cloud at the top of the screen. Politely, the 3 randomly appearing in the clouds have blue parrot letters written on them, and a pink Syad priest moves them freely and teleports. The white practitioners in the lower part repeat the standing worship and move forward little by little. We get some more screenshots of the game, as well as an appearance from the leader, Asahara himself. Game Urara Volume 2 just gets weirder with the introduction of the cult's PSI headset. The headset claims that those who wear the device can telepathically communicate with the leader to enable lessons through brainwaves. The article mentions the purpose is making one's brain the same as the guru. I cannot make this up. Here are some images that the article gives as to the usage of the device. So what, do you purchase it and put it on? No, they make you build it. Like I said, the translation is a bit choppy, so some of these must be translated wrong, but the article mentions that in order to build the device, one needs a sports headgear, a synchro energizer, a flat cable, a pipe electrical van, purchased at pharmacy, a new luck van, also purchased at pharmacy, medical surgical tape, and tool. Later, the writer attempts to wear the headset and describes the following feelings. With such anxiety, I try to put on the terrifying headgear. Be careful not to scratch your own head. What a considerable shock came to my whole head, Jesus Christ. The first PSI experience was less than 5 seconds. The first sex test took 5 hours. I'm just gonna assume that's a typo. However, I was impressed by the unexpected power. Fuck. No, it was a success. After that, as I put it on several times, I gradually got used to this stimulus and became able to wear the headgear all the time. While I was wearing it, the feeling of electric current running through my scalp became more comfortable. This is the real thing. Splendid. Too wonderful. I swear this is starting to sound like a villain's origin story. Anyways, we get some further direction on how to use it. This includes weird instructions such as the person wearing it must be the one to turn it on, don't threaten before experimenting, whatever that means, and finally, do not use in front of police officers. The article then talks more of some of the cult's past works, such as the anime and the words of the Shoko March song. Here's the song as well as a dance from the cult themselves.
Asahara,
Moving on to Volume 4, we get treated to many parodies of Aum Shinrikyo and its leader. This includes mimics of the obviously bogus telepathy headgear, and a new game, the story of Kamikuishiki Village. The game is a visual novel that places the player as the leader, Asahara. The game involves players acting as a cult's leader. This includes recruiting new members, managing cult operations, collecting resources, and ultimately pursuing the infamous train attack of '95. Many people mistook this as the cult revival, due to the publisher being labeled as Aum Soft. However, it was revealed that this is quite the opposite. The game was meant to poke fun at the leader, and while the goal of the game is very disrespectful, it chooses to do so in a way that negatively reflects on the cult and its activity. Since then, Aum Shinrikyo has quieted down, with Asahara actually being executed a few years ago in 2018. It may not get the same publicity that cults like the Jonestown Massacre has garnered, but Aum Shinrikyo sure is an interesting trip down a rabbit hole of dedicated members, violent attacks, and a man who wanted a little more than a mediocre meditation class. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more videos like these, let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, I ask if you could please hit that like button. It takes a while for me to make videos like these, and liking helps push my videos to new viewers. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.